This free step-by-step video comes to you directly from Haynes, creators of the world's best repair manuals. Fix your car or truck the right way with our accurate and reliable information at your side. You can complete more than 200 jobs on this vehicle when you purchase the complete online manual at Haynes.com.
Warning: wait until the engine is completely cool before beginning this procedure. Disconnect the negative cable from the battery before beginning this procedure. The battery is located behind the front passenger side seat underneath the battery cover. For more detailed info on accessing the battery on this model, view the battery replacement video if needed. Disconnect the cable and secure it in a way in which it won't unintentionally reconnect. Remove the engine cover. Loosen the passenger side wheel lug nuts. Raise the front of the vehicle and support it securely on jack stands. Drain the cooling system. On this model, there is no radiator drain fitting to drain the coolant. The coolant is drained by disconnecting the radiator hose connected at the bottom of the radiator. Move a large container under the lower radiator hose to catch the coolant. Drain the coolant by loosening the hose clamp on the lower radiator hose. Separate the hose from the radiator, then allow the coolant to drain out into the pan. While the coolant is draining, check the condition of the radiator hoses, heater hoses, and clamps. Replace any damaged clamps or hoses. Reconnect the hose to the radiator and tighten the clamp securely. Remove the passenger side front wheel and inner fender well splash shield. Remove the drive belt. Insert a 3/8" drive ratchet or breaker bar into the square hole in the tensioner, then rotate the tensioner clockwise to release the belt tension. Noting how it's routed, remove the belt from the tensioner and auxiliary components, then slowly release the tensioner. Removing the belt from the tensioner pulley may be a little difficult, but can be done by gently twisting the belt and sliding it under and out from the pulley. The removal of the underhood fuse and relay box is required. Flip open the protective cover on the remote positive terminal. Remove the fuse box cover. Remove the nut and detach the battery positive cables from the stud. Using a screwdriver, dislodge the tabs securing the perimeter of the upper portion of the box to the lower portion. Unscrew the two bolts securing the upper portion of the fuse and relay box to the junction blocks. Carefully lift off the top half of the box and remove it. Pull the junction blocks and wiring harnesses out from the bottom half and set them aside. Use a screwdriver to release the tabs and detach the lower half of the box from the base. Remove the bolt and detach the ground cable from the inner fender panel if needed. This will free up a little more space. Remove the fasteners and detach the base from the inner fender panel. Disconnect the right side radiator hose interfering with the access to the lower part of the engine mount assembly and set it aside. Remove the engine mount strut bracket assembly, starting with the upper bracket. Completely remove the engine mount strut lower brackets. Remove the air conditioning line clamp bolt from the upper radiator support. Remove the coolant reservoir, first by using a suction device to remove as much coolant as possible from the reservoir. If the coolant is still in good condition, it can be reused. Store the coolant safely in the time being. Remove the 2 bolts securing the coolant reservoir. Then lift it up enough to disconnect the overflow hose from the radiator. Remove the reservoir while taking caution to prevent coolant spillage. Disconnect the battery positive cable and other wiring connections from the alternator terminals. Unscrew the idler pulley mounting bolt, then slide the pulley out as far as possible. Remove the 2 alternator mounting nuts, allowing for the removal of the power steering fluid hose bracket and the air conditioning compressor hose bracket. Remove the alternator mounting studs. Then maneuver it, along with the idler pulley, out of the vehicle. Separate the idler pulley from the alternator. Swap the idler pulley from the old alternator to the new one. Then maneuver the new alternator with the pulley into place for installation. Install the 2 alternator mounting studs onto the engine block. Tighten the mounting studs securely, but do not over-tighten them. Slide the alternator onto the mounting studs. Replace the power steering fluid hose bracket then the AC compressor hose bracket and install the alternator mounting nuts. Tighten the alternator mounting nuts securely. Screw in the idler pulley mounting fastener. Tighten it to 37 foot-pounds. Connect the electrical connections at the alternator terminals. Tighten the nut for the battery positive cable securely. Install the coolant reservoir and reconnect the overflow hose to the radiator. Install the reservoir mounting fasteners and tighten them securely. Install the AC line clamp bolt onto the upper radiator support and tighten it securely. Install the engine mount strut lower bracket to the engine block. Tighten the fasteners to 66 foot-pounds. Install the engine mount strut insulator to bracket. Tighten these fasteners to 43 foot-pounds. Install the final engine mount and tighten the fasteners to 43 foot-pounds. Reconnect the right side radiator hose above the engine strut mount assembly and secure the hose clamp. Reinstall the fuse and relay box assembly, starting with the base. Make sure to reinstall the ground cable and tighten the fastener securely if removed previously. Install the fasteners and tighten them securely. Install the lower half of the fuse box, pushing it down until the locking tabs are secured. Position the junction blocks and wiring harnesses back into place on the lower fuse box. Reinstall the upper portion of the fuse box, aligning it properly and tightening the two bolts until the upper portion locks into the lower portion. Also make sure all of the side tabs are secured. Reinstall the battery positive cables back onto the stud and install the nut. Tighten the nut securely. Secure the protective plastic cover. Replace the fuse and relay box cover. Install the drive belt. Route the belt back over the various pulleys. Then rotate the tensioner to allow the belt to be installed. Release the tensioner once the belt has been properly routed onto all the pulleys. Check to make sure that the belt is fitted properly onto all the pulleys' grooves before proceeding. Install the passenger side fender well splash shield, securing all the fasteners. Install the passenger's side wheel and lug nuts. Safely lower the vehicle. Then tighten the wheel lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds. Refill the cooling system with the specified type of coolant. With the radiator hose and clamp connected at the bottom of the radiator, and the heater temperature control in the maximum heat position, slowly add new coolant mixture to the radiator until it's visible in the filler neck. Install the cap. Connect the negative cable to the battery and tighten the nut securely. Using a voltmeter, check the battery voltage to ensure both the battery and the alternator are operating correctly. With the engine off, the battery voltage should be at least 12.6 volts. To ensure the alternator is functioning properly, start the engine and check the battery voltage again. It should now be approximately 13.5 to 15 volts in its charging state. Replace the cover and tighten the cover fastener securely. Replace any trim covers removed to access the battery. Secure all the metal clips by pushing them into place. Replace the floor mat. Run the engine in a well-ventilated area until the thermostat opens, long enough for the cooling fan to cycle on and off twice. Turn the engine off and let it cool. Using caution, slowly open the radiator cap and add more coolant mixture if necessary to bring the level up into the filler neck. Also add coolant mixture to the coolant reservoir until it is a ½ inch above the cold fill mark. Keep a close watch on the coolant level and the various cooling system hoses during the first few miles of driving and check for any coolant leaks. Make sure the hose clamps are tight and add more coolant mixture as necessary. Replace the engine cover.